Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And this is F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, episode 561 for Sunday, May 17th, 2020. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, Microsoft is seeing double, Epic Games licensing is getting unreal, and Google is in the crosshairs. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or Twitter, on our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Mixer, Twitch, Periscope, YouTube, or Facebook, through a podcatcher like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of other options, on the radio, or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are three ways that you can do that. The first, of course, is joining us live Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern by going to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us during the show and give your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. Or if you want to listen on the radio or on the website, 88.1 WMLD radio in the New York area, Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. And of course, you can always subscribe at PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, the Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and more. And of course, you'll find all of the ways that you can watch or listen. Hey, Avram.
Hey!
We're starting a little late, and we're using totally different technology than normal. Because we had a bit of a panic as the show started. But, we're here.
Yay.
It's good to be back.
Yes, it is good to be back.
How are you doing this evening?
I guess I've been worse. I guess I've been worse. It's really good to have so much cool tech to play with. I've got a little toy here. I'll show folks later during the Piltch Point segment. It's all things considered, it could be worse.
For sure. And speaking of cool things, we are this evening. You guys who are watching live are guinea pigs for a product review for PLUGHITZ Live. For a product called the Stream Live HD from a company called A10, A-T-E-N, the UC9020. If you check out our Instagram, you'll see a picture of it just before we went live. It's a stream deck for kind of simple streaming. Because of that, we're still using some of our normal technology as a feed into it. But for a basic show, I bet it would be pretty good. I'm going to be using it tonight. So at the end of the show, I'll give kind of my first impressions on using it. Fingers crossed that it goes well. It hasn't been our problem tonight, though. So that's good. It's been an interesting week over here. I have got, oh my God, Avram, have I got products to review. I have got boxes and boxes of products here. It's killing me. I wish there were like 4 of me. You ever get to that point?
Yes. I have a laptop over here that I need to review, on my side here that I need to review. I've got a roundup of various Raspberry Pi things I need to do. I completely get it. There's been a lot of distractions here lately in my house. So the thing that's hardest to do for me when there's distractions, like a toddler coming in here, is writing reviews. Every other things are easier to do when I'm distracted than that. So I hear you totally. There's a lot.
I have in the office right now. I have 4 products all going through battery tests. I've got a portable battery. I've got headphones. If you guys watched our deconstruction project 2 weeks ago, the earbuds that I was wearing instead of these, because these were hooked up to a different input, those are doing a battery test right now. Oh, it's a little nutso. Thank goodness I built a battery tester, though, that I can deploy to whatever devices I want. Makes things easier.
That is good.
Oh my goodness. Well, obviously you can keep an eye out on both PLUGHITZ Live and tomshardware.com for these product reviews that we're talking about that will be coming in the future, because obviously we're both inundated with products, and that's a good thing, because
well, better than not.
Yeah.
You know, I'll if anybody wants to chime in about things that they would like to see, from these reviews, I'll tell you right now, because none of these things is a secret. I have a ThinkPad X1 Carbon over here, the latest version, to review.
Nice.
I have and am getting a bunch of really small laptop/phone chargers, and I'm trying to figure out an efficient way to test those. Like, besides just plugging them in and making sure they work, like what would be the best way to actually make sure they're delivering the wattage that they say, that they claim, and I also have a bunch of Raspberry Pi cases, Raspberry Pi cameras, and the one that has been taking me like a month, because each test takes like 8 hours, is micro SD cards. That one's almost done, but I'm not really sure if it was worth it. To be honest with you, I probably should have run the 5-minute test instead of the 8-hour test on I have like 8 micro SD cards that I've run on the Raspberry Pi to see like what is the best micro SD, best 32 gigabyte micro SD card for the money. Okay. A lot of them are very similar. Some are a little better than others, but I found a test called FIO, Flexible Input Output Test, which apparently is a really great bare metal storage test. But when you run it, it runs itself like 100 times or something. So, and takes the average. So when I use it, it takes like 8 hours, and then I use another test called IO Zone, which takes 5 minutes, and I get very similar results. So should I not just use IO Zone? I've been doing both of them. Apparently, FIO is better because it's less influenced by the operating system, but nevertheless, how much, so I did them all on a Raspberry Pi 4, and I was like, great. Then I realized, well, not everybody has a 4. I probably want to also test them on a 3, which is different speeds. So I'm running them all on a 3. Wait, maybe I should test them all on this 0 over here, because that is a slower machine. If I'm going to put together a page of what the best micro SD cards are for Raspberry Pi, I probably want to be a little bit more comprehensive than just the latest model. So that's what's been taking forever. And then if I ever want to add more micro SD cards to the test, they will also take forever. So I don't know if I want to keep using this test or not.
That's like doing a test on a portable battery charger, right? Because you hook it up to a phone. You put the phone in its battery test. It has to discharge its normal battery, and then constantly keep adding. Or these things. Oh my God, these headphones, 25 hours per charge these things run, and obviously you can't just test them once because you could get anomalous readings. You got to do it at least 3 times to look for outliers. Oh. So just doing the battery tests on these things was a killer. But, one of those 20,000 milliamp externals plus the phone running a battery test, oh my God, those things can take days.
Yeah. Also, right, companies are offering me to test So again, if anyone in the audience has something specific they'd like to see me do or have a good idea of how I could do this more efficiently, I am being offered like 20,000 milliamp hour batteries actually to test. And so far I've held off because it's just going to be such a nightmare to do. And, I don't know. It's not like I can write 1,000 words about a battery. I mean, really the best that you could do is round up a bunch of them and say, like, here's how long each one lasted. But to just get that number could take you a really, really, really long time.
Yeah.
And a fair amount of work.
Yeah, the one that I'm doing from what's the name of the company? The PR rep's name is Cassandra. How can I not come up with? I know the rep's name, but not the company. All of a sudden, that each run takes like 2.5 days. So yeah, I know. I get you. I have an idea that we can talk about offline that I've been doing for a couple of years. But anyway, yes, if you have things that you would like us to review, let us know. Definitely let us know in the chat rooms on social media, because we can reach out to some companies and see if we can test out the products that you guys are curious about. But with that, let's get down to some news. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, a gaming system like the Xbox One S or X, you're looking to pre-order one of the new Surface devices, and there are a ton. We're going to talk about another one in a minute. You can do all of that at the Microsoft Store and a lot more. VR and AR headsets, phones from Samsung and more. And if you're a current student or military, you can get a discount on almost all of the products, and you can find out about all of that by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. So, speaking of Surface devices, obviously the lineup has not only gotten bigger over the years, but has also just recently been refreshed. And last year, in October, Microsoft announced the newest pair of members of the Surface brand, the Surface Duo and the Surface Neo. The Duo is an Android phone with 2 screens. The Neo is a Windows 10X device with 2 screens. The Neo is currently on hold for a variety of reasons, but the Duo, the Android phone, is so far along in its production that Microsoft employees are allowed to apply to be internal testers and take them home. And we have actually seen photos of some of the team with them on their desks, with their work from home setups that some of the Microsoft employees have posted online. The Surface Duo has been in those photos, but Microsoft has, for whatever reason, been very tight-lipped on the specs of the device. Coming into this week, basically what we knew was that it had dual screens, which obviously they were 5.6-inch, 1800 by 1350 resolution, that they would support the Surface Pen, and that it was 4.8 millimeters thick. That was literally all of the information that we had. Other than the fact that obviously the Surface Duo has taken a very different approach from Samsung or Motorola, who tried to make one piece of glass, one LCD that folded. Microsoft went, no, you know what? The Kyocera Echo from 2011, that's our inspiration. We're going to go with that. And if you don't know the Kyocera Echo, think Nintendo 3DS.
Well, listen, the folding phones that we've seen have not exactly been wonderful so far.
Right.
I don't think Kyocera had that bad of an idea, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, it was such a good idea that Nintendo stole it for their handheld consoles for basically a decade. You know, there was the Nintendo DS, DS Lite, the 3DS. There's been a whole family from Nintendo that were based off that same design.
I mean, I like the idea a lot. I think it's a really good idea for productivity purposes to have dual screens. As I sit here today, I have dual screens in front of me at my desktop. I wish I actually had 3 or 4 screens, but that's another story.
We're going to ignore the fact that I have 9 screens pointed at me right now.
I mean, are they all on the same computer?
No.
Oh, okay.
A lot of them are, because a lot of them are hooked up to the control system, so they're outputs of you. And
no, I mean, my big monitor problem right now is that I have a really nice monitor arm that I got a while back, and it only supports 2 24-inch monitors. So I'd like to upgrade my monitors at some point to be like 4K or something like that, but I can't. I mean, I guess I could get a 24-inch 4K, but those are hard to come. Seem to be very few models like that.
True.
And then I would really like to actually have more than 2. I like to have 3 or 4. Maybe having 4 stacked is the best. Maybe it's like 2 and 2.
I can send you the arm that I use in the office.
So, it's hard to say. I mean, my arm is tied into my dock. It's like this really cool human scale arm dock thing.
I knew it was human. As soon as you started saying it, I'm like, it must be the human scale one.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, the arm part of it only does 2 monitors.
Yeah.
And the replacement arms are super expensive. So I don't know. I guess one of these days I'll do it. But as far as on the phone goes, I mean, for a lot of people, when you're out and about, if people ever get to be out and about again, your phone is with you all the time, but your laptop and your desktop with your multiple monitors are not. So, having that second screen for productivity makes sense, provided that the software is good for doing so. I think that was one of the issues that have happened with dual screen devices before was, did you have the right software to make it really easy to kind of have one app on one screen and one app on another. I actually remember using the Echo, and I actually thought it did an okay job of this.
Especially considering it just basically, forced apps side by side or kicked up a screen, a keyboard on the second screen. When that was what you asked for. I was working, mobile sales at the time, and we sold a lot of Echoes, and I didn't have any of them come back, which was a good sign, because we had a lot of, in 2011, Android devices were, there was a scale, and Android devices were not unusual to come back, because a poor one gave such a bad experience, and the Echo didn't seem to create that. So I'm hoping that we'll see something similar from the Surface Duo, and some of that's going to come from some of the information that we learned this week about the internal specs. 6 gigs of RAM, which is obviously, if you're going to be running apps side by side, 6 gigs of RAM is a good tool. You're going to have Snapdragon 855 SoC. It's not, it's not the one that came out this week or whatever, but it's a solid processor. 64 gig and 256 gig configurations based on what we're hearing, but we're not 100% sure on that, simply because the information we have is from the testers at Microsoft, who have said this is what my device has. It's also got an 11 megapixel camera on the back, which was one of the things that was really in question, because there does not appear to be, and Microsoft has been pretty clear on their intentions not to include a front-facing camera which is strange because that seems like if this is a productivity device, it sure seems like Skype or Teams would be something you'd want to be using, but you're not going to be able to. So that's a little strange. Obviously, with no front-facing camera, there's probably no Face ID type sign-in, but there is a fingerprint, so you will have biometric scanner security on the device, which is pretty cool. And Microsoft has already released an SDK for the Duo to be able to do essentially dual screen apps. So, something like maybe Teams, right? Where on one screen you've got your chat, and on the right screen you've got a screen share or something like that. Maybe you can pull up a document on one and see the chat on another, or maybe in Outlook you could have your email list on one and your preview panel on another, that type of thing. So Microsoft has put out an SDK specifically for the Duo, which is pretty cool. I've messed around with it, so I have a virtual Duo running on my computer, and I like it. I'm pretty excited about this device, not just because it's a Surface device, and obviously I have a Surface device sitting on my desk, but because I carried an Echo for a little while because, I like to test out weird things like we talked about at the beginning of the show. We like to test out product. I tested out an Echo for, God, I probably had it for 3 or 4 months. And I was really happy with it. And, an updated version, not something that I'm going to be unhappy with.
Yeah, I think it's good that they're experimenting with dual screen, and in a serious way, not a gimmick way like Samsung. So, I think what remains to be seen is the battery life going to be decent enough to use? Is it going to be too clunky to use? And is it also going to have the same? So I was looking back for a second at the Kyocera Echo review that I wrote. It was me. It was me. I remember using it. I was like, oh, did I write the review? Yes, it was me.
Awesome.
For Laptop Mag, when Laptop Mag used to do phones in 2011. And what I didn't like I liked it. I gave it 4 to 5 stars. But the things that I didn't like about it, I think could also be issues for Microsoft. Okay. So one is, at a time when people were switching to 4G, it only had 3G. Now, is this phone going to have 5G?
Probably not.
So at a time when everyone's switching to 5G, this phone's going to be stuck on 4G.
Yeah.
Right?
In fairness to the Echo, it wouldn't have mattered much because Sprint did end up shutting down that 4G network anyway. Right. But
the point is, it was a point at which there was another standard that people were already getting.
And Kyocera already had WiMAX devices on Sprint, and then they came out with this device that didn't, and it kind of held it back, for sure.
So, I think that's one thing that you get when you get phones that are kind of an experimental concept. You don't get the best of everything, and that, I think that's very problematic as someone who wants to buy a phone. Like, oh, yeah, so you can get these dual screens, but if you want a good camera, someone has better. If you want our best connectivity, another thing has better. So it's like you shouldn't have to choose between having a cutting edge design concept like dual screens and having the latest connectivity or the latest processor or the latest camera.
Yeah.
Samsung does this too. Like when you get a Samsung phone that is sort of a concept phone, you don't necessarily get the best camera or the best connectivity from them either.
Yeah.
Right? I remember, what was the name of the Samsung phone that had like a zoom lens on it that was actually like a physical zoom lens?
Yeah, I don't remember, but I know
Right, so the camera was good, but you didn't get the best screen or whatever. Like, There's
the Nokia PureView, right? 41 megapixel camera, but at a time when everything was LTE, the 808 still came 3G, and the screen was a disaster. Plus, I mean, it was Symbian, as Symbian was on its way out, but still.
Right. So that's the thing. It's like these companies shouldn't make you choose. Now, and it's going to be expensive, I'm sure. So, you know, if you look at the person who's going to buy a flagship phone and they're expecting to hold on to it for a couple of years, right? So right now you can get 5G in a lot of places. A year from now, it's going to be much more prevalent. But unless you plan to change phones every year,
right,
it's kind of a downer right now to buy a phone that can't do 5G.
Right.
Granted that 5G is still not an absolute necessity, but
right. But in a year, you know, during your 2-year contract, which I know it is, during your 2-year lifespan on a phone, 5G is going to sneak in, right? It's going to solidify itself, and so, you know, being saddled with a device that's LTE max, you know, is unfortunate. But on the other hand, if you are that person who likes to mess around with unique concepts, you usually go into it knowing that you're going to give some stuff up to play with interesting concepts, or, you know, odd phone designs and things like that. So maybe you're prepared for it. I want to try this thing so bad I can't tell you.
Yeah, I want to try it, but it's hard to see myself buying it if I'm not getting the best, if I'm not getting the highest quality camera, and I'm not getting the highest quality connectivity. Especially in the camera in my case, because I use them for pictures for work.
Yeah.
But for other folks, maybe it's not as important.
Fortunately for me, I do carry 2 phones, so I do have that ability to have a device that is my messing around device, and not have to sacrifice, you know, the camera, the network speed. Although, you know, if you're doing one Android and one iOS device, you know, this next generation, and you do the Surface Duo on one and the iPhone, whatever they call the next one, on the other, you're not going to have 5G on either. So you're having to make a choice there too. So I don't know. I'm excited to see it. I definitely want to try it. And if the rumors that we're hearing from inside are true, we might see it sooner than holiday 2020, because apparently they are pretty set on the hardware, which is why they're doing employee testing right now, which is a good sign. You know, if they're happy with it, they could put it into production pretty soon. And from what we're hearing, we may actually see it end of summer instead of holiday. So that would be pretty cool. I want to see it in person, because honest to God, if you've seen any of the photos of it, it looks like this laptop but smaller, which is so cool to see. I want to put my hands on it, but we will see when we can do that. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. When you're browsing online, you definitely want to protect your identity, whether it be from Google and Facebook or from your ISP, especially if the FBI is going to be able to requisition your browsing history without a warrant. And the best way to do that is with a VPN like PureVPN. You can obfuscate your browsing, you can report that you're somewhere else, and all of that can be done for $3.33 a month if you sign up for 2 years. And to get that deal, and to find out about the 30-day money-back guarantee, you can go to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. All right, Avram, it is my favorite type of Piltch Point. You've got a show and tell for me.
Yes, but I know since we also have this on audio only, I will try to tell everything that I show. So this past week, we had NVIDIA's GTC, Graphics Technology Conference. Obviously, nobody was able to go to it in person, but they did have keynote. And NVIDIA announced some things. And one of the things they announced I've got right here that I got to play with, which is the NVIDIA Jetson NX developer board. Now, let's take a step back. What is NVIDIA Jetson, and what is NVIDIA Jetson Xavier NX board in the first place? So NVIDIA Jetson is NVIDIA's AI board technology. Companies are using it for all kinds of things, building industrial robots, things like that. They run off of NVIDIA's Tegra processors. And last fall, Xavier NX, their latest generation, was announced, although it's only started shipping just now. And Xavier NX has 384 CUDA cores, which is allows it to do 21 21 trillion operations a second, and that allows it to do all kinds of cool machine learning things. Now, they announced the little board, but it was just a little board that was like the size of a SODIMM, that is a piece of RAM that you put in your laptop. Well, that has no way for you to attach a keyboard or a mouse or a monitor. So they've come out with the developer board version, which for $399 gives you the Xavier NX chip plugged into a developer board that has lots of USB ports. It has an M2 slot for NVMe. You can add an NVMe SSD to it, although it boots off of a micro SD card. And even though at $399 it's no Raspberry Pi competitor, it actually has a 40-pin GPIO set of pins that you can attach Raspberry Pi accessories to, and it has two CSI camera ports, which you can attach Raspberry Pi camera modules to. So let's have a look at it and a demo it is running. And unfortunately, because I have but one webcam, I've got to take it off here and show it to you. So over here, sorry, my desk is a mess, but it's a relevant mess of Raspberry Pi stuff. Anyway, so over here you see the Jetson Xavier NX developer board. You can see the GPIO pins over here. You can see the HDMI port that I have plugged in. I've got I've got a mouse and a keyboard plugged in, but there's 4 USB ports. On the bottom, I won't turn this over for fear of unplugging it. That's where you put the NVMe SSD. And it has Wi-Fi, unlike the Jetson Nano kit that came out last year that was $99 that I might have demonstrated on this show and complained about because it had no Wi-Fi. So over here we've got, sorry, I'll hold my hand steadier. Over here we've got the screen, and this runs a version of Ubuntu called Tegra for Linux. And I'm going to show you a demo that it runs. And over here you can see that what we've got here is 4 different AI applications running at once that a robot might really need. So one is in this corner over here, you see it's detecting people. That's important because if you have, let's say, a hospitality robot, it would want to know, oh, is this a person that's walking by me, or is it a dog, or is it a rolling cart?
Sure.
Over here we have it analyzing poses of people. All these, of course, are video. The applications are really running, but they're using footage that NVIDIA provided. However, I have tested at least the pose one with a live webcam, and it works. So it can tell how the person's sort of where they're facing and moving. And then in the other corner over here with you'll see that her eyes have green boxes on it. It shows a face and it shows when the person is actually staring, their gaze detects their gaze when they're staring at the camera. And then this other corner over here is natural language, which means you'd have to put headphones on. You can ask it questions and it gives you answers based on a set of text that you supply. Now, the answer is only as robust as the text that you supply. So I wrote like a paragraph about Tom's Hardware, and I said Tom's Hardware was founded in 1996. When I ask it what year was Tom's Hardware founded, it says 1996. When I ask it how old is Tom's Hardware, it still says 1996. So it doesn't do any type of, higher level thinking to figure out that 1996 was 24 years ago.
Okay.
So why do you care? Why would anybody care about it having these 4 applications running? Well, if you were running a robot, which this is made to work for, you would, and let's say it were, I think this is a really good demo of, say, for a hospitality robot, you would want, put this back so as to stop making people dizzy by looking at it. You would want your robot to talk to someone if the person approached and looked at the robot. Unlike, say, Alexa or Google Assistant, where you accidentally set them off, you would want the robot to say, oh, this person is next to me, but they're looking at their friend, so no, don't talk to them. But, oh, this person is looking at me, so I guess I'm going to initiate a conversation with them. So that's an example of why detecting that it's a person, detecting how they're standing, and detecting whether they're looking at you would matter. Obviously, there are other things that you can do with this. You can do object detection. You can do object recognition. What type of object is it? So, but the board is powerful enough to do that. So that's pretty impressive. And it all runs on Linux. You can use the Jetson SDK, which has a lot of different built-in models. A model is sort of how a machine knows about something, like knows what human eyes look like. That's a pre-trained model. So they have a lot of pre-trained models that you can use. You can program it in Python or other languages. And so there's a lot of flexibility here. Now, it is not a hobbyist thing. I mean, it could be, but it's expensive for a hobbyist device, right? You're not going to spend $399 to do a fun project. I mean, unless you just got a lot of money rolling around. You're going to buy this because you're part of a larger company and you're buying a slew of these boards, and you need a developer kit to learn how to use, to learn how to and prototype and make something before you roll out your lineup of robots for the factory. But it's still fun to see for all of us, what's possible. I tried, going through some of their tutorials, and I have to admit, it kind of hurt my brain a little bit. So I need to get a little better at this before I can really sort of take advantage of what this can do. But I think the idea here is that with this type of processing power that it has, for something really small, because remember, if you were building robots, you wouldn't be using the developer kit that I showed you. You'd just be using the little thing with the fan on top of it that I was pointing to. That's the actual board, and then you would attach it to whatever I/O board that you created that your robot needs, which might be really small. So that's just a quick look at the Xavier NX developer kit, which you can buy from NVIDIA for $399. And we have a detailed article about it on tomshardware.com right now.
All right, I'm going to ask a couple of weird detail questions that you may or may not have answers to. How many skeletal points does that bottom left have? I think I counted 24.
Well, good question. Let me. I mean, they didn't say in any of the materials that I got.
I counted 24 while you were holding the webcam up to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, that seems about right. Okay.
Yeah. That seems about right.
So that's about the same number of skeletal points as the second generation Kinect. which is awesome considering it's not requiring, all of the things that the Kinect was, right? With all the infrared dot grid and all that stuff, it's able to do a similar.
Yeah, it'll do it off of a 2D camera.
Yeah.
So my webcam that I'm talking to you on right now, and I would demonstrate it, but I'd have to unplug it from here. And we all know that I can't get a second webcam for a while because we all know that webcams right now are the hand sanitizer of the tech world.
Although there is that company that just announced a new line of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to tell me.
Karen Thompson. Thomas? Yeah. Anyway, she put out an email this week.
I gotta. All right, I don't think I got that. You gotta tell me about this after. So anyway, yeah. So I tried it. Point being, I tried it with my webcam. Although my office space is such that I couldn't really walk far back enough to get it to capture my whole body. But it did a good job of capturing my arms and my torso.
Okay.
And showing skeletal points on it.
And it didn't panic on a partial skeleton.
No.
See, the Kinect totally panics on a partial skeleton.
Oh, you mean if it doesn't see your whole body? No,
Uh-huh.
no, it's fine. It was fine. If you just saw my face, it outlined my face.
Okay.
If I rolled further back and I held up my arms and it saw my arms and fingers, it got those. If I put a second person in the frame, it also got them. So it did that. And I think one key thing to keep in mind is this is all happening locally. So this is what you would call edge computing, which is short for it's not on the internet. It's not using the internet. That's a really fancy term that a lot of for those who are not familiar, the fancy every time somebody comes up with a new tries to sell an old concept as new, they come up with a new term for it. So now doing something on your computer where you are is called the edge. Instead of just on my computer or on a computer.
Technically, Edge is a little more than that, but yes.
And
it's been around a long time.
It could be close to where you are as opposed to not directly on your computer. It could be on your local network instead of in the cloud. It's not in the cloud.
Right.
Right. That's what we're trying to say.
Right.
It's not. These things are much easier to do if they're in the cloud. If you're, know.
Push to Intel or Azure's machine learning systems, you can do this stuff super easy. But do you want all of that for something like a robot? Probably not. It would be nice to be able to keep all that private because you've got video. You don't want to become Clearview AI.
Yeah. Well, also, connectivity is not always perfect.
Sure.
Right.
You could demo this at CES, which you couldn't do if it was cloud-based.
Right. That's so there you have it. I mean, you can do.
That's awesome.
It does a lot. It does a lot locally. It does it all locally. So that's. Although you probably, for training a major AI model to figure so it knows what a person looks like or whatever, mm-hmm. you may want to use a more powerful computer for that and then download the model to this. But you can, sure. You can use it to create models. I just I'm not really an expert on that, so I went with what they gave me. But
sure.
But there's a lot that one could do.
Very cool. I've already got ideas. Obviously, I already have ideas. I am rebuilding a product that we did for a client in my head using this instead of the Kinect, which is why I focused on that skeletal mapping, because that's what the product was based on.
Yeah, that model's already built in, so that's that would be if you figure out what you wanted to do with that information, mm-hmm. you could very easily make it happen.
I have literally already messaged Mark to let him know about this thing. Because maybe we can bring the project back under our new company. Anyway, super cool. You've already got content out there?
Yes. On tomsoftware.com, we have an article about the Xavier NX developer kit.
Very cool. Well, I think I'm going to end up having to grab one of these for myself, even though I know It's expensive, but it sounds like the kind of thing that I am going to be super excited about. So, as always, thank you, not just for our audience, but for me personally. Super excited, and as always, I look forward to what we talk about next. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. All the accessories you need to up your game on both PC and console are available from Razer. Whether you're looking for a new keyboard and mouse like we use here in the studio, or you're looking for the new Razer Hammerhead True Wireless earbuds, or an entire gaming computer like the new Razer Blade 15, you can find all of that by going to f5live.tv/Razer. So, over the last year, I'd say, Epic Games has taken their position as kind of one of the loud developers. They're the guys behind Fortnite, so of course there's a lot of attention on them. They have taken that and they've really run with it. We saw a little over a year ago they launched the Epic Games Store to compete with Steam, but the thing that set them apart was their what I've kind of been calling the keep more philosophy, where developers get to keep more of the money that they make instead of Steam's 30% commission. Epic took 12%, which is huge. It's a huge difference if you're an indie developer. Then they came out with the Epic Games Publishing, which allowed you to get some funding for a game, distribution for the game, all with, again, a minimal cost, and you got to keep 100% of your intellectual property, which is kind of unusual in the publishing world. And then this week, the last big part of their business that they hadn't quite adjusted to this new mindset was the Unreal Engine. Two big things happened. One, they put out the first big demo for Unreal Engine 5, which is unbelievable. If you have not seen it, definitely go check it out. It is crazy. What Unreal Engine 5 is going to be able to do is going to it's going to create some beautiful games. And as part of this, they have changed the licensing. In the past, you used to have to pay $19 a month and 5% of the product sales once it became public. But at some point they changed that. They got rid of the $19 a month, and they made it so that the 5% didn't count until $50,000 in sales, which is great for an indie developer. If the game doesn't go anywhere, you probably won't hit 50 grand in sales, and it doesn't cost you for Unreal Engine. That's kind of cool. But now Epic has moved that goalpost from 50 grand to $1 million. So until your game does $1 million in revenue, you owe nothing on Unreal Engine. And when you combine that with some of the other perks, like when you publish on Epic Games Store, you never pay the 5%. The ability to publish with Epic Games Publishing and keep your IP and get funding for your game. There's a lot out there through Epic Games to support indie developers right now in a way that I don't know that we've ever seen this kind of indie support before, Avram.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that Epic Games is stepping up. I think they see an opportunity here. Mm-hmm. That's good for them. To to seize that opportunity. You know, try to do what you can to encourage smaller developers. And you know, every now and again, I will see, you see sort of the brilliance of games that are not made by big studios that have different kinds of ideas that, like, hey, that seems kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one that I was reading about the other day. I don't know if this is on Epic Games or not. But it was definitely sounded like an indie game where you are a power washer. You power wash houses. That is the game.
Oh yeah, that's an indie game for sure.
Right, and but nobody else probably thought of that, and it sounds like it could be a little fun.
Goat Simulator definitely got people thinking. Differently about what an indie game could be.
There's a game, I'm pretty sure this is an indie game, but this is Switch, not PC, that my son and I started playing a while back because we read about it, called Good Job. And you're like an intern at some company, and it's like a puzzle game, and you have to keep advancing to different floors, and it's just like you go around like trying to solve, like it's like you got to put all the green boxes on one thing and figure out how to get them on the conveyor belt, and it's one of those type of like problem solving games, but it's a lot of fun, and it's not the kind of thing that I think you would see like a giant, Bethesda type of studio create.
And if you look back at some of the most talked about games in the last 2 decades, you've got Portal, which was totally an indie game until Valve put resources behind it. That was being developed literally in dorm rooms, and it's possibly the highest rated game of all time today. You've got Limbo, which might be the best known indie game ever because they went on to be a big studio because of the success of Limbo. It was so successful that Microsoft included them at an E3 press conference. I mean, that's, you don't expect that from an indie studio, but as soon as, one of these weird concepts, and Good Job certainly looks like a significantly toned down version of Limbo, without all the dark, kids trying to kill each other. But when you start putting resources behind an indie, give the indie studios the ability to build their thing with better resources. If you don't have to do something in Unity, if you can use the Unreal Engine for free up until $1 million in revenue, holy cow! The things that an indie studio can pull off with Unreal is going to be awesome. I think we're going to see some really cool stuff, and I'm glad to see Epic taking this chance to support the indie community. I mean, yes, sure, this'll help big developers too, because lots of people develop with the Unreal Engine. But I see this as a big push to help indie studios get those weird, Untitled Duck game or whatever, Goose Game or whatever it was called, type, weird concepts out there that people end up just falling in love with. So I think it's pretty cool. I look forward to seeing what comes out of it, what new weird games come out. And since it's Unreal, it means that you can build it and launch it to consoles and PC and everywhere, which makes it even cooler. So good job, Epic. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live is proudly powered by Riff Tracks. Make fun of movies, or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best. creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities like Aladdin. Nope. Not the live action Aladdin. This looks terrible. The way it works is for a couple of dollars, you download the MP3, play it along with your DVD, Netflix, Amazon, wherever you happen to have the movie, and laugh. They also do live events. This year is obviously a little messed up, but the live events end up on the site as well. You can watch many of the old live events. I have no idea what I'm watching right now. It's so distracting. Oh my god, I think Bigfoot just got hit by lightning. Anyway, to find out what full-length features, what short films, and what live events are available, you can go to f5live.tv/rifftracks with an X. Seriously, I think Bigfoot got struck by lightning. I don't know what to do with that information. Over the last couple of years, there has been a pair of terms that sound similar but mean very different things. The Apple tax and the Google tax. The Apple tax has referred to the 30% commission that Apple takes on developers' use of services that they don't want to use. On the other hand, the Google tax refers to taxes and fees that countries have put in place that mostly are designed specifically to target Google. We've seen, the news aggregation fee in Spain, which ended up with Google shutting down Google News in Spain. We've seen a couple of other things across the EU. France has something similar to the Spain thing that they're trying to push through right now. And that's because a lot of countries are, let's say, weary of Google. There's been a number of investigations across the globe, from the EU to the US. Basically, any country in the Western world probably has, at one point or another, looked into Google's actions and behaviors and the motives behind them. One of the countries that has been weird on that has been us here in the US. We haven't really, at least on a national level, we haven't really put out any laws or fees specifically targeting Google. But since 2011, basically every law enforcement agency of any stripe within the U.S. has investigated Google for something or another. The FTC said in 2011 that an antitrust case should be filed, but they couldn't do it. Last year, the Justice Department started an investigation, and the FTC might finally have their wishes come true because, according to the Wall Street Journal, this investigation has concluded, and the Justice Department is currently drafting the thing that will end up being the antitrust case. In particular, it's important to note that the specifics of this are not public yet. They will be when this is filed, obviously, but for right now, the specifics are not public. But based on comments that have been made over the last couple of years, we can assume that search engine dominance has been a big part of it. One of the complaints that we've seen from all over the West has been Google's tendency to promote their own services in search over more accurate or more relevant search results, YouTube videos over other services, things like that. There was the situation in 2010, 2011, where they just wholesale stole all the reviews out of Yelp and claimed them as their own, and put them into the Google search without even crediting Yelp for it. Things like that have led to where we are now. But of course, we know that an antitrust case is complicated and difficult to prove in a court. If we need a litmus test on that, we can ask Microsoft. The EU has had far better luck in those things than the US ever has. The US's case against Microsoft was inevitably dropped, but in the in the EU. To this day, Internet Explorer cannot be the default browser in Windows. You have to get a choice. So there's no telling what might come out of this, but, you know, it's the biggest antitrust case that the Justice Department has even contemplated since Microsoft, and that was in the 90s. So this would be a big move, right?
Yeah, I hope it's being pursued for the right reasons, which is anti-competitive reasons, as opposed to political reasons. Although I guess it's hard to separate anything that say the FCC or the Justice Department does from politics. But, you know, I hope it's not because, you know, because I know there's sometimes been criticism of Google, like, oh, well, you know, we don't like, you know, who you're giving, you know, higher results than others based on the political viewpoint that's expressed on whatever the result is or whatever. Like, I hope it's because legitimately folks are concerned about not YouTube. I'm thinking about our next story, which also is Google, but
but very different. It's because it's not Google's fault,
right? You know that Google, you know, is leveraging its position. I mean, as a content publisher, I have always have, you know, approached Google with some mixed feelings. Like Google is such a big part of getting traffic to any website these days. So you want to, and generally, you know, I like Google services. I use them a lot personally and in business. But it's a little scary how much power Google has to decide who's the winners and losers on the internet. And you as a consumer or as a publisher, you like, you know, for example, if Google decides, hey, we're going to take a little piece of your content and create this answer box that's on the top of our results, right? That may or may not be in your best interest, but you really want to be in that answer box because you want to be number one. Because
you don't want a competitor to be in the answer box.
Right. So they create a situation. So for those who don't know, I'm talking about the answer box, but like, you ever do a search on Google and you're looking for a piece of information like, I don't know, what is the battery life of this laptop, right? So now it used to be that Google would just give you a set of results from other websites and you have to click through. And if you click through and you came to my website, great. You know, I showed you some ads. Hopefully you're not running an ad blocker. Maybe you actually clicked and bought something. Yay, that's, you know, Google is being a directory, you know, a search service and sending people off to other websites. But Google's a business and they have a need, and their need is if they had their druthers, they probably won't send anyone to any other website, because if they can provide the answer themselves, then they can keep people on Google longer. So what happens? They came up with this thing called the answer box. Now they use the data that you asked for, like the battery life, and they might just show it to you above the list of results. Well, and they'll show you a link for where it came from, so they're not plagiarizing, they're citing the source. But if the information that you wanted is right there at the top of Google results, you might not be very motivated to click. So you got the answer from me, but I didn't even get a single page view from you.
Yeah.
But yet, I want to be in that answer box because at least there's a chance someone will click it.
Right.
And to be invisible on Google is the worst thing. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at, is like everybody's highly dependent on Google, and Google can make or break you in a lot of ways, and it's scary. Now maybe I'm not even really talking about how they're making you compete against, if you're Vimeo or something and YouTube results are coming up higher in video, then that's definitely not good for you.
Or if you're Yelp and your reviews are being displayed directly in Google search without any kind of.
Right. Well, that's like the answer box, right? I mean, they're doing it on a larger. They did it on a larger scale with Yelp because they just literally sucked it right out of Yelp. But
and they didn't cite it.
Right. Yeah. So that's really bad. But I mean, like, you know, if I have a piece of if I work hard and writing a piece of information and all you do and you get the information you need without having to go anywhere, like, it's a pretty good user experience. I don't doubt it. But, you know. But the least that someone could get from publishing information you want is your attention for a second there. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's difficult. It's really difficult. And then you look at other things Google is doing, which are probably good for the internet as a whole, but not necessarily good for the publishers who make the internet what it is. Something like Google AMP, right? Google AMP is that thing that happens when you're on your phone, or I think you can also end up with AMP on other platforms, right? And you get a piece of content and you click on it and it loads super fast. It loads super fast because Google has said that it can't have a certain amount of ads or tracking codes or anything like that websites use to make money. So
right. It's like the Facebook instant articles, but off of Facebook.
Now you could choose not to put out with AMP versions of your articles, but you'd be hurting yourself in search because Google prioritizes things that are amped. So, once again, you better play ball because you need the traffic from Google.
Right.
And let's be honest, unfortunately, nobody is optimizing for Bing. Nobody's trying to come up high in Bing. No one is trying to come up high in DuckDuckGo. You know, so Google is the clear leader, and as a user, I can see why. Like, they do a fantastic job. As a publisher, it's frightening to think about what happens when Google changes an algorithm or does something that affects your business, and you know, that's how you really depend on them.
I just realized that because of the setup tonight, you can't see me. I was raising my hand. I actually do optimize for Bing, but that's because I use Bing as my primary search engine. You know, I'm the black sheep of the internet. You know, if I didn't have to have an Android device for work and development, I probably wouldn't see a Google logo outside of the articles that I write. Honest to God, half the time I forget that Google has search until I start writing about it. Because I don't use it for anything. So I do optimization for Bing on our websites as well, and it has worked well because I'm not competing against as many people who are trying to optimize on it. And you know, if I can optimize well for 14% of the search traffic, I'm okay with that.
I mean, you know, look, also, I'm not really sure if anything you do to do well on Google is really different than you do to do well on Bing, right? I mean,
again, you can't see me. A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit, but not too terribly much. But, you know, knowing Microsoft's mindset helps. Yeah. Knowing how the internals of the company works kind of helps you figure out how they're going to do their stuff. But anyway, we will see where this goes. Google says they're not worried about it, but Microsoft said that as well before their stuff started to go. And, you know, in the end, that was a bit of a mess for them. So my guess is they're probably not excited about what's going on, but they're probably not too terribly worried because, again, Microsoft just had Windows at the time. You know, they didn't have all the things that Google has. So, yeah, there's some room for alarm, especially with the failures they've had outside the U.S. So we'll definitely see when this comes down, probably this summer. And if it's anything like the Microsoft one, it will drag on forever. So this will be far from the last time we talk about this. This week's DRM Not Included in F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. You get free shipping, but you may not know that you get free music streaming with Amazon Prime Music. You get free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, and you also get free video games through Twitch Prime, as well as one free subscription on Twitch where you can financially support the content creator of your choice without spending any extra money. You can use that to subscribe to us or any other channel and help that channel out a little bit. And all of that is part of your existing subscription, and there's a whole lot more. If you want to find out more and get quick links to these features, or if you're not currently a subscriber and you'd like a 30-day free trial, all of that is available by going to f5live.tv/prime. Now, I want to give a quick PSA, because there's been something happening on YouTube for a little while. If you have a YouTube channel and you publish videos regularly, you are probably going to get the pit in your stomach here in a second when I say this next sentence: wanna be friends. Now, while that seems innocuous enough, it's not. This comment shows up on videos across YouTube. Irrelevant of content, irrelevant of subscriber size, irrelevant of whether or not the video is public. This comment is showing up basically on every video. As it turns out, there may be some hacking happening behind the scenes. Not just because the comment is showing up on videos that aren't public yet, and that's not possible, but when people interact with the comment, whether it be reply to it or subscribe to the channel behind it, which I have not linked to and I will not say out loud, because I don't want to encourage it, people have lost access to their channels. And those channels seem to be added to a botnet that comments on the channel's videos, so that channel's videos rank higher on YouTube and get more views from legitimate people who may then subscribe and may then lose their channels and get added to this botnet. Now, obviously the PSA is don't interact with the comment. If you have seen it and it still exists on your channel today, which it probably does not, but if it does, or we start to see this happen again, block the channel, report and block, and just move on with your day. It's what we did at one point on our primary channel, but not on a couple of our secondary channels, so that we could test things in the future. So don't interact with it, report and block. But one YouTube channel did a big search into this and discovered that literally the comment was on basically every video. You could search for anything on YouTube that had been uploaded in the last 6 months or something like that. And if you looked, first comment. Guaranteed, this channel, first comment, want to be friends. I can tell you, I had to turn off notifications on YouTube during our CES publishing, because we were getting them, 3, 6, 8 times a day.
Maybe people just want to be your friend, Scott.
This one person in particular.
They really want to be your friend. I mean, come on, man. You're not being very nice.
So there's a couple of weird things about the channel. First of all, it only had a couple of videos, and all of the videos had way too many views. In particular, one video that was 1 minute and 11 seconds, whose splash image just said, "Please subscribe," which is the type of video that nobody ever clicks on. If you go to even a popular channel, if they've got a video like that, it's got 12 views. All the other videos might have a couple thousand views, and that one will have 12. This one, last I checked, 54,000 views. Most viewed video on their channel. Not possible. That is not how that works. And all the other ones were like, how you can get to so many subscribers, and then you watch the video and it never actually talks about it. So the guy who did the deep dive into this, who I'm also not going to link to, not because he's a bad guy, but because his channel was stolen during his research into this. And last I heard has not received it back, so I'm not pushing anybody to him. But we do have a link to a tweet of his, so you can follow along with what's going on. He created a tweet talking about it, tagging YouTube and encouraging people to retweet. As it turns out, YouTube has responded, and they have investigated. Last I looked, the channel doesn't seem to exist anymore, so Google may have suspended or terminated the channel in question. But if there's a security issue here, it doesn't mean that it's over, right? They may not be dealing with the problem. They may have just dealt with this channel for right now while they investigate, and they could just create another channel and do it again. Who knows? So here's the things to know. There are a number of security procedures you can take on your YouTube account, including turning on two-factor authentication. Not the two-factor authentication that is somehow tied to Discord. I don't know anything about that, but there seems to be possibly a connection here. I don't know the details on it. But enable two-factor authentication. Make sure that your account is as secure as it can be, because that will help reduce the chances of any kind of account takeover, because we see account hijacks happen from time to time, and so the more secure your account is, and it doesn't matter whether it's just YouTube, but in this case YouTube, secure your Google account, because this isn't Google's fault, and I want to make that very clear, that there's little to no evidence that this is in any way Google's fault or YouTube's fault. So, yeah.
How is it not? I mean, if interacting with a comment can cause you to get your channel hijacked, isn't that a major security flaw in YouTube?
So possibly. So it from what it looks like based on this kind of deep dive, it's the interacting with the comment is merely like a flag that it's an active channel. And so a comment from an active channel is valuable to the YouTube algorithm versus a comment from an inactive channel, which is not valuable. So when you reply to or subscribe, that seems to flag this botnet that your account is one that should be looked into. And then it tries to do password resets and all the things that go around an insecure account, which if your account is set up insecurely, you're using a bad password, you're using an email service that can be easily hijacked through social engineering or something like that, or your password matches one from a data breach or something like that, becomes real easy to take over your account. And then the comments on his videos from your now hijacked channel help uprank his videos. It is a very complicated thing, and it seems to be entirely based on basically you replying to the comment or subscribing, and that being a flag that you are an active and therefore valuable channel. So, password reuse, things like that, Google can't do anything about that. That's just creating an insecure account. So definitely two-factor authentication, things like that. If you can do, like, if YouTube's a big part of your day, like it is for us, hardware 2FA, YubiKey, something like that is your best case scenario. Our corporate account is secured with a YubiKey. So you have to be me essentially to get into our YouTube account, because we do a lot of business off of YouTube. We We can't afford to have something like this happen. So, you know, just be wary. Be aware that not just your Google account. All your accounts should be secure, but this is the place where it's being taken advantage of now. So, but Google's looking into it. They do seem to have gotten rid of the channel, and they seem to be working with channel owners to get their accounts back, which is good. If passwords were changed, if email addresses were changed, things like that. They seem to be working with content creators to get their stuff back, because I know the guy who created the video is working with Google to get his account back. So it's a mess. My recommendation is if a comment seems spammy, don't interact with it. That's right now. Whoop, don't interact with spammy comments at all. Let them sit in the spam folder, and just be there. That's me. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We always appreciate that. If you didn't and would like to in the future, f5live.tv/join us Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. If you would like to subscribe, maybe you're catching us on the radio, or you're finding us on YouTube and you'd like to subscribe on your phone or whatever, PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. You can see all of our shows there and all the many ways that you can follow along with our content. I promised that I would give a quick review on the Stream Live HD. I mostly like it. There is one major feature that's missing: the ability to play videos in the system, that would probably prevent it from being a big success in its target demo. You know, if they're trying to target, because it's got all kinds of like picture-in-picture stuff all built in. It's really cool. It'd be great for a Twitch streamer, except for the fact that you can't play a video in this system without an external source, which is unfortunate. But you know, for a basic switcher, it's kind of cool. I like it. We couldn't use it because we play several videos throughout the show, and we've got our communications and stuff like that. But you know, if you for what we're doing with the show just tonight, if you're watching live, you know, we've got Skype set up. We could have that computer come in as channel 2 without our switcher, and we could do it entirely through this if we could play the videos. So, I mean, it definitely has a potential target demographic if they could include videos in it. I will have a much more detailed review, because I've been using it for weeks now. I'll have a much more detailed review on PLUGHITZlive.com in the coming probably week or so. But for now, I think that's going to get us there. And with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we will see you guys back next time. Ciao.